afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Life Celebration by Franklin Grief Symposium. Today is Sunday, June the 22nd, and we have subject here today is faith, spirituality, and the grieving process. But before we get into that, I just want to say happy birthday to anybody who's having a birthday in the month of June. We celebrated all the May birthdays last month. Well, we celebrated May and April and all those because we had been, away because we're only live. What is it? We're only live 4 times a year. So since we were live last month, we wished everybody happy birthday. So today I want to wish June birthdays happy birthday. Um, Next month, well, we'll talk about next month later. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and bring Dr. Cunningham in and let her take over from now.
Hey, Miss Marie, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good to see you.
You too.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome, as Marie said, welcome to our monthly Grief Symposium, which is hosted by a life celebration by Franklin. And to those of you who don't have any idea what that is a funeral home in the Austin, Texas area. So we are so excited to be here with you again. As she mentioned last month, we were in person. Now, for those of you who are watching live and you're in the Austin area and you came last month, did you enjoy being in person? I really did. I missed you guys. So again, we always look forward to coming together, whether it's in person or virtual. And I believe the next time we're going to be in person is going to be around September. But until then, we want you to log in every fourth Sunday. We'll be right here on social media to continue to provide you this support. So I see you guys logging in on Facebook. And as you come in, would you just do a favor? Say hi to us. Let us know who you are and where you're logging in from. And if this is your first time watching us, especially live, if this is your first time being with us, put a 1 in the comment section and our digital team will certainly respond to you. We appreciate you for logging in with us. And we always appreciate those who come back month after month. I call you guys frequent flyers. So we appreciate you for coming. And before we get started, I want you to help me thank the Franklins for hosting this symposium. We've been going strong for over 10 years, providing this support, not only to their families that they serve, but to anybody in the Austin, Texas area when we're in person and definitely on social media. We have people who view from all over the world. So would you just put in the comment section, just say a thank you, Barry, thank you, Marie, for allowing us to provide this service to people who are experiencing grief. I also want to mention to you, don't forget to sign in, even though we are virtual. Listen, we live in a digital world, and I know that can be frustrating sometimes for some of us. We got to figure out what button to click, which link to click. How do I download this, and how do I download that? Listen, as a person that's about to be 60 years young in November, I understand how the transition to the digital world can be. So we just ask for the young folk to be patient with us. Just be patient with us. And if I ask you the same question again, I need you to answer that question. And don't make me feel like that I'm on your nerves. I'm laughing because that's the young people at my church. When I first joined the church, after going through the divorce, and most of you have heard this testimony of the church that the Lord led me to. They are a very techie church, very techie. Listen, very techie. And they even today, now that I think about it, because I used to be the person that only gave my offering during the envelope. I gave cash. I didn't do all this other stuff. I didn't do, cash app, none of that stuff. And so they would talk about me, but they sure did take my envelope. They take your cash, yeah. They talked about me. So even the deacon today, as he was sharing an offering, he said, I think we have converted Dr. Cunningham to use digital means of giving. And so I do now. That's easy for me now. But I had to get to that space. So I said all of that to say you can sign in online. Okay, what do you want? We want you to do. We want you to go to the funeral home website, Life Celebration by Franklin, but you're going to use the letters alcbf.com. Okay, alcbf.com. You're going to go there, you can sign in, and you can also get the handout that I'm going to review. You can get the handout that I'm going to review today. You can download that so you can have it. Now, I love the digital. I really do. I'm transitioning and I'm doing better with that, but I'm also a pen and paper girl. When it comes to things like this, I need the handout in hand. Why? Because you're going to need to review this information after today. You're going to need to review that. So I believe if you go ahead and download it, you can have it for those times when you need to reference it. Okay. So let's do our check-in. For those of you who have been here before, you already know what I'm about to ask. I always ask before I get into our lesson. I always want to ask you, what have you done to take care of you since I saw you last? So that was last month when I saw you. I need to know, if you can put in the comment section, what have you done to take care of yourself since I saw you last? Some may ask me, why do I ask that question? It is because I want us to be conscientious of the fact that each of us, it doesn't matter who we are, we must be intentional about our health. We must be intentional about our care. Because I don't know about you all. Before I started this healing, transformative journey to holistic living these last 13 years after going through divorce, I was a person that used to I was a busybody. That's what I was. I was good at taking care of everybody else, but I was horrible at taking care of Tonya. Horrible. Am I the only one in here like that? I don't believe I'm the only one that has been in that space where you're constantly giving to other people and not giving to yourself. Okay? So I always want to know, what are some of those things that you've done? Because that's a part of your homework. It really, really is. You get this information when we come here every fourth Sunday. But guess what? You got to go home and apply it. You got to go home and apply it. So you can let us know in the comment section those things that you have done for yourself to take care of you. And I always want to lead by example. I always want to share those things that I have done to take care of me. I have been intentional about my rest. Yes, I have been intentional about my rest. So I'm learning. I'm so glad I've gotten to this space in life. I hate that it took me to be almost 50 years old to figure out how to say no to people. I hate that I'm almost, well, I was almost a senior citizen then. I was about 47, 48. Now I'm considered a senior. I was watching TV the other day, and one of those insurance commercials was talking about seniors age 55 and up. I'm like, well, oh my God, it really hit me. I am a senior. But I don't look like, quote unquote, a senior. Okay. So my point is that I'm learning to rest, and I'm doing it intentionally. If that means I have to change some meetings, and I've just had to do that. Me and a friend of mine, she's a doctor, a psychologist in the Maryland area. And she and I both are intentional about that rest. We had a meeting today. I actually ran overtime because I was in a crisis working with someone in the hospital. But she said, hey, I think I may be too tired to meet tonight. What if we do it tomorrow? Whatever the case may be, both of us are taking care of ourselves as it relates to rest. What else have I done since I saw you last? For Juneteenth, I worked. And see, that's some of the things I have to think about as a person, that's an entrepreneur. I got to put on my calendar to take off on certain holidays. So I didn't take off on Juneteenth, and I really wish I had. So I wanted to celebrate. I ended up going to a concert that was here in the Fort Worth area in Funky Town. And it was in a place called the Bass Hall. We have the Bass Brothers. They are wealthy people here in the city of Fort Worth. And there was a concert there. And it was this phenomenal orchestra called Orchestra Noir. Noir. Okay. And I'm like, first of all, what is that? I didn't know. It didn't catch my attention until I realized that one of the elders at our church, he and his wife, again, they're the CEO. He's the CEO of the National Juneteenth Museum, and it's something that is currently in the process of planning. It's going to be built pretty soon here. And so when I found out they were involved in it, and I went. And y'all, I had a blast. It was Thursday night, and they are very, very good. It was so refreshing to see all of that melanated skin on the stage. And they were playing all of these different instruments, and they were playing our music. So it was very, very refreshing. But listen, your girl got tired around about 10:20. I was like, all right. Anybody who knows me, when I give you the all right, that means I'm tired. That means I'm getting ready to check out. That means I gotta go. So why am I telling you that story? Is because I worked all day, went to that concert all that evening. I was tired come Friday. And guess what? I'm still tired. I ended up ministering twice on yesterday, went to church today, here with you guys. Then I have a 6 o'clock meeting. So after this, that Cunningham is shutting it down. So I'm intentional about my rest, and I want you to certainly do the same. I want you to do the same. Hey, Dr. Roslyn, I see you on with us on Facebook. Good to see you, my mentee and my daughter. So that's what I have done. So hopefully you guys will let me know some of the things that you have done to take care of yourself, because I want to know. I want to know if you're taking care of yourself. Okay? Because here's the thing. Many people will say, I want to do better. I want change. I want to heal from the pain of grief, but you're not doing anything about it. You're not doing anything about it. Okay. And when we don't do anything about it, we get stuck in the grief process. And that's what we do not want to do. All right. We don't want to do that. So, homework from last month. Y'all thought I forgot, didn't you? Homework from last month. You guys were supposed to assess your support system. Last month, we talked about how vital it is for us to have support. We need support when we're going through the grief process. And I wanted you to look at your family, look at your friends, identify your strong people that's going to help you through this process. Okay, your compassionate people, because if we don't have those people in place, it can certainly make our grief process a little bit more complicated. So I want to know if you've done that. I want to know if you've done it. If not, I want you to do that. Okay, it's not too late. If you haven't done it, you're not in trouble. I'm not getting ready to give you an F in the class. That's not what this space is about. I'm here to help you with your grief. I'm not here to add more grief to you. I'm here to help you with it. Okay. So, but we want you to identify your support system because that's definitely going to help you on your grief journey. So let's go. Let's go to our subject today. It's one that is very sensitive to me because I am a person of faith. It is faith, spirituality, and the grieving process. And let me tell you, as a grief counselor, I see many, many people who are part of the Christian faith, and this subject pops up every time when we're doing grief counseling. Every time it's going to pop up because we have questions. Okay, we have questions, we have feelings, and we want those things to be addressed. So I'm getting ready to just dive into the handout. And again, if you haven't done so, you can go to the website alcbf.com, alcbf.com, to download the handout so you can follow along with what I'm talking about today. So it's important for us to know that grief, again, is one of the most personal, and it is sacred. Did you know that your grief experience is a sacred one? It absolutely is. Listen, when I've worked in the hospice industry and even in the funeral service industry, when a person dies, most often they want their funeral to be in a church, whether they attended church or not. Why? Because it's sacred. It is a sacred experience. Many people will ask other people. I've heard other clients say it. Some people have asked me too. Why do you go to the cemetery? I'm a person, I love going to the cemetery. So when my loved ones died, I spent a lot of time at the cemetery in the very, very beginning. And now it's been years since these people have died. I only go on special holidays for our parents and my daughter, my baby. We go Mother's Day, Father's Day, sometimes Christmas, and maybe New Year's. But Father's Day, Mother's Day are the major holidays that we go every year. And then sometimes we'll go out there for other special days. But before right at the time of loss, I was going about every month, sometimes every week. Okay. And people will ask, the saints especially. See, this is when we get into this sensitive subject, talking about faith, spirituality, and all of that, and grief. Well, why you go? They ain't there. Baby, I know the word. I know they're not there, and don't tell me that. I know that. The reason I go there is because that ground where my loved one is buried or entombed, that ground is sacred to me. It is sacred because my loved one is there. Okay, so grief certainly is personal, and it's a sacred journey that we all can certainly experience. Again, whether the loss is sudden, whether it is expected, whether it's a physical or symbolic experience, it basically alters the landscape of our lives. Can you attest to that? I know I can. I had some ladies stop me at church today because of what I was wearing. You know, I had on a white button-down shirt, and I had on a black bow tie, which was my daddy's. You know, that was my daddy's tie I kept, and so it made me think of him today. And I had on this flowy skirt, and he's like, "Man, how do you put your clothes together? I love your fashion." And I started laughing, and I said, "Really, grief did this to me. That was a change that I received that I love, because it just turned on my fashion sense. Like I got on these big earrings now. Before grief, I was such a in the box person. I only wore, that's because I was a mortician. We only could wear dark colors, right? So I only wore black, brown, blue. Yeah, I didn't wear beige much. But after going through this process, I wear all colors now. And I wear these big glasses and all of that because I like that. I like that. So again, it changed the landscape of my life. And grief definitely does that. And that change doesn't have to be a bad change, but it's painful in the beginning. But as you navigate through the process, again, you can certainly learn to embrace the change. Okay. But what does grief do? It certainly touches the deepest part of who we are. It touches our identity. It touches our purpose and even our understanding of the world that we currently live in. It really can. Okay. So when we experience a profound loss, guess what? We are not just mourning the physical absence of someone or something we loved, but we're also grappling with these emotional and sometimes theological things, or the weight that loss brings. Okay. So a lot of times we're wrestling, and a lot of times I've experienced some people say that they think these things, have these questions about theology and God when it comes to their loved one dying, but they're too afraid to express it. They're too afraid to express it because generally in the minority communities, I can speak for that because I am a minority, and I'm a black minority. We have a tendency to be taught you shouldn't ask questions. Number one, that was considered disrespectful, and you're certainly not going to ask questions about God. Okay, and you're certainly not going to voice that expression. Okay, so that leaves a weight, especially when you're not able to express it. So grief is often a deeply spiritual and or faith-filled experience because it brings us face to face, guess what, with core questions of existence, okay, including things about life, about death, about meaning, about purpose, and about our connection. About our connection. So, since our subject is speaking about faith, spirituality, and the grief process, I figure we should define what it is, okay? Because there is a difference between faith and spirituality, okay? Oftentimes, these two terms are used interchangeably, but they have distinct meanings, especially when it comes to grief. So if you're taking notes, or if you have the handout, you can follow along with me. But if you're taking notes, note this, that faith typically refers to a system of beliefs. The key word I want you to remember is beliefs. All right. And the beliefs are often rooted in a religious tradition. So I want us to understand that when we talk about beliefs, we need to know where they hang out. They hang out in our mind. Okay. So some of you have followed me from time to time. You have heard me speak a bit on this as it relates to those of us who are part of the body of Christ, or any faith in particular. But I speak on the body of Christ because I'm Christian. So it is our belief, again, that we're made in the image of God. He's God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that means he's three in one. So if we're made in his image, that means we're three in one too. We're spirit, soul, and body. So we must, again, one of the things I say over and over again, give attention to our spirit, our soul, and our body. But did you know that your soul is comprised of your mind, your will, and your emotions, right? All these threes. Your mind, your will, and your emotions. They're part of your soul. Well, did you know that your mind was broken down into three compartments as well? You have your conscious mind, which is where our thoughts and our reasoning takes place, especially in the frontal lobe of our brain. You have your unconscious mind, or your subconscious mind, which is underneath the conscious, subconscious, and then we have the unconscious mind. So these beliefs that I'm talking about as it relates to faith, again, it typically refers to a system of beliefs. Guess where those beliefs hang out? In your subconscious mind. Our beliefs, our experiences in our life, our hurt and our pain, all of that hangs out in the subconscious mind. Now, why is it important to know that? Is because the subconscious mind is like, let me see, an example would be, I'm on my laptop here and I have several tabs open. And when you have several tabs open, depending upon the type of computer you have, it can slow your the process down because those things are running in the background. So that's what's happening in your subconscious mind. Let me give you a better example. Telephones. Okay, telephones. I have an iPhone. And one of the things that I didn't know when I first got the iPhone is that every time I open up to go somewhere, it leaves that page open. So I didn't know. See, that's one of those digital things that I was talking about in the beginning. I didn't know that I needed to close those windows, because if I don't close them, it makes my phone drag. And that's what the young people at the church was trying to tell me and say, ma'am, you need to close all your tabs. I'm like, first of all, you're not going to talk to me that way just because I don't know. And then the second thing is, what do you mean? When I went to go close all those things on my phone, guess what? It started running better, faster. So we need to deal with thoughts and beliefs in our subconscious mind, because again, that's where things are hanging out. So as it relates to faith, it involves our trust and our confidence in something greater than ourselves, such as God, a higher power, or a set of teachings. And faith is often expressed through specific doctrines, rituals, or organized communities, okay, such as churches, mosques, temples, synagogues. That's what faith is connected to. Okay, it can provide structure for people, it can provide guidance for people. And when we experience loss, we can lean on our faith in God's plan, or faith that there is life after death. All right, now that's what faith is. Let's talk a little bit about spirituality. This is what we have to be careful of, because many people will say, I'm not a Christian, but I'm spiritual. So the question you need to ask people, what spirit? What spirit are you operating under? Because there's a lot of spirits out there. That there's the spirit of light, which is God. Then there's the spirit of darkness, okay, which is the enemy, Satan, the devil, Beelzebub, whatever you want to call him. Okay, so there's definitely spirituality working in the world. So what does spirituality mean? On a broader sense, it's something it's like a broader concept. It refers to a person's sense of connection to something greater than themselves, and this is what they may call it, whether it's the divine, or the universe, or nature, or inner self. So some people will pray to the universe. I don't pray to the universe. I pray to the God of the universe. Oh, bless his name. Let me sit down. Okay, see, I felt the preach coming up right there. I don't pray to the universe. I pray to the one who made the universe. All right, let me bring it down. See, this I'm passionate about this one. But some people do. I'm just saying. I'm just teaching. I'm just teaching a lesson based upon my research. Okay, this is what people, spiritual people, to do. I was watching a dating program. I don't know what it's called, Later Daters or something like that. Somebody told me that I need to watch that, and I watched it, and it was this guy on there, and he was dating this woman. They met each other for the first time, and they sat down at the restaurant to eat, and I think it was he blessed the food. Yeah, I think he blessed the food. And she was excited about that. She said, "Oh, you're blessing the food. Oh, I love that. Okay, I believe in prayer too." This is what the lady was saying. And it appeared to be a good date. At least I thought it was. And but after the date, of course, the TV people interviewed each of them. And for him, it wasn't a good date because he said she got too excited when I prayed. I'm like, what kind of sense does that make? Because he said, "I'm spiritual. I'm not all that other stuff." I'm like, "Oh, but you're gonna pray over your food, but you say you're spiritual." He didn't want to be connected with organized religion. And I get it. But again, when we talk about spirituality, again, it's something bigger than who we are. And it's often experienced in things like meditation, reflection, journaling, being in nature. I know I can certainly feel God's presence when I'm in nature. I really, really can. When I'm on cruises, when I'm near bodies of water. I've heard people who've gone on cruises, Alaskan cruises, and they say, "Man, you can definitely see God in action when you go on those types of cruises, seeing all that He created." So when you're in nature, or just even acts of compassion. And some describe themselves again as being spiritual without being religious. And I totally get that. I really do. Or find a spiritual fulfillment outside of a traditional faith setting. Now, that's what we see a lot of, especially after the pandemic. Now, I'm a part of the church because I believe it's vital. I really do. That's my belief. But I don't subscribe to a lot of what the church is today, as far as what we've made the church, But I do believe in that. So again, some people say I can't get fulfillment out of the traditional faith setting. Out of the traditional faith setting. So the bottom line I want you to know is that faith is more structured. Spirituality is more fluid. Faith is often communal with people in a community. Spirituality is often personal. So usually it's usually involved in specific belief systems, truth, and spirituality is more about seeking an experience. Okay? Here's the thing I want you to know. Both faith and spirituality can coexist and support one another. Absolutely, they can. So, as it relates to grief and the aftermath of loss, many people often turn inward or upward. Upward meaning to their spiritual being, God, whomever. Okay? And what do? We're searching for meaning, a longing to understand why this happened and how to make sense of this pain that I'm feeling. Okay? The goal is people that want to bring a sense of peace or search for a divine presence during that moment of pain. But here's the thing that we need to be aware of. In that search, our faith can feel complicated or even unclear. Many, many clients I work with, again, a part of the body of Christ, they have sat on my couch from people who are ministers, pastors, praise and worship leaders, doesn't matter who they are. And they said, "Man, I am rethinking what I know about God since my loved one died." And it's not uncommon to have that experience. It is really not uncommon. It starts challenging your sense of belief. It challenges your sense of belief. So questions can rise to the surface, basically colliding with long held doctrines, okay? And basically shaking our spiritual foundation. So what once felt like comfort to you, or what once felt certain, may now feel fragile. It may now be clouded with doubt. It may now be clouded with confusion and even silence. I know I was there when my baby died, and at the time, I was still married. And boy, I was upset with God. Yes, I was. I was upset. You let my baby die. And a lot of women out here having babies, they popping out babies, don't even want babies, and you let me have a baby late in life. And I was angry. Okay, I was confused. I had a lot of questions. Okay, this is what a lot of people have asking, why did this happen? So here are some of the questions that people will ask. Where was God when my loved one died, when my mother died? I prayed for them to live, but they still died, right? Or why did my loved one die from this disease and others live? That's what I asked during COVID. When my loved ones, I had 6 family members to die of COVID alone in the hospital. I'm like, why my loved ones? And then people who had COVID, they walking around, they living, and many of them are doing okay. Or why didn't God heal them when I prayed? Is my loved one in a better place, or at a place of peace? These are questions that a lot of people have asked me when we're working through the grief process. They'll ask, what's the point of trusting God if he doesn't prevent pain? Or they'll ask, why do bad things happen to good people? Are these questions any of you have asked? You don't have to say anything in the comment section, but I want you to witness within yourself to say, yeah, I have asked that. Yeah, I have said that. Or what's the meaning of their death? That's a huge one. The meaning, the saints, they always want to know in the beginning, God, what does this mean? First of all, let's just process before we try to even find the meaning. The meaning comes later, sometimes even years later. Let's just process it. Many people start asking, what is my purpose now? And the reason we ask that a lot of times because our identity is tied up in other people. It is tied up in other people. I'm the mother of. I'm the wife of, the husband of, the sister of. I'm over this. I have this title. But when it comes to losing that person, then we lose our identity. That was me as it relates to a divorce. I lost my identity. I didn't know who I was. I was scared, didn't think I was going to have any friends, first lady friends, any of that, because my identity I had fallen into an identity crisis and I did not know it. That my identity crisis was that I'm a first lady. What? After going through the healing, the Lord revealed to me, you were a lady first before you even became a first lady. Okay? That's not your identity. So, but when someone we love dies and our identity is attached to them, we want to know what our purpose is. And another question that sometimes we often ask is, I'm numb and I'm exhausted and I don't feel like praying. Am I going to hell for this? And listen, I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to answer all of those questions, but I just wanted to bring them to the forefront because these are questions that many people ask when they're going through the grief process. Okay, their faith is challenged and they want to know some things. So it's important for us to know that grief basically has a way of stripping away easy answers. It does, inviting us to sit down with the unknown. I don't have all the answers. We all know, those of us who are Christian, we serve a God that is sovereign. His ways are not our ways. I can't tell you why certain people lived and other people died with the same disease. I don't have the answer, but I trust that he has the answer. And I have matured in my faith walk that I don't have to know everything that God knows about me. Matter of fact, because I wouldn't be able to handle it. I wouldn't be able to handle that if I knew some of the things that he has planned for me, if I knew it ahead of time. All right. So the beliefs that once brought us comfort can suddenly feel inadequate or they can feel disorienting. And the waters of belief, they become murky. You can't see clearly, not necessarily because faith is lost, but because it's being tested, or your faith is being stretched, or your faith is being reshaped. And where is all that happening? Right in the grief process. It is happening right in the grief process. So it doesn't mean that someone is losing their faith. It may mean that they are beginning to engage in it more deeply. Now, that should be an encouraging word to someone. Some of you have heard my testimony to say that about the divorce. I was very angry with God. And I was like, you know what? I'm a pastor's wife. I was a pastor's wife. And listen, and this happened the way it happened and all that kind of stuff. I said, I ain't preaching no more. I ain't picking up another mic. I ain't doing it. This is how I talk to God. This is our conversations. I'm like, I ain't even going to church no more. That was all my pain going. That was all my pain. That's all that was. It was all my pain. Okay. So it causes us to have an opportunity for our faith to be reshaped. So I said I was never going back to church. Look where I am. I'm back in church. But I'm saying my relationship is deeper than it was back then. It's deeper. And here's an announcement that I want to share. It's kind of a sad indictment because it speaks to a lot of us in church. We just go to church as a ritual, but rarely have a relationship with God. That was me. I didn't know that I was just going to church. And now after going through all of this, guess what? I learned the love of God for real. Oh, my pastor says this. I'm preaching better than y'all saying amen. Can somebody say amen for me so I can feel something? Listen. Yeah, my relationship is deeper. And all of us have this opportunity after we process through the hurt. Our relationship can certainly be deeper. But that's only if we allow ourselves to be honest and to be vulnerable in the grief process. Okay? Okay, so in this sacred space of uncertainty, guess what? Your faith is not abandoned, it is transformed. It feels like it's abandoned, but it's being transformed. Yeah, I was when I said I started really understanding the love of God because I was living in condemnation and I didn't know it. I was tormented, meaning I was thinking I was going to hell for everything I did. Lord, I'm going to hell. Oh, I'm going to hell for this, I'm going to hell for that. Oh, Jesus. I was living in condemnation, and the word tells us there is therefore now no condemnation. Again, to those of us who love the Lord. So now I understand and I serve the Lord. My faith has been deepened and I do what I do for the Lord, for God, and I want to be closer to him, not because I have to, but because I want to. Ooh, I'm trying to sit and not preach because I understand his love, and what exposed that was grief. Grief did that. It transformed me. So it is in these moments that faith must be expanded to make room for your grief. Okay, and even your doubt. So grief often is a doorway to a more grounded, embodied, and resilient spirituality. You got to embody it. My coach teaches this. When we speak, I have to embody my speech, which means I live it. And when I teach and talk about it, you, the receiver, should be able to feel that through my embodiment, meaning how I express it. Okay? So your grief can definitely be a doorway to you being a more grounded person. And guess what? For people of faith, faith communities can play a critical role in your grieving process. What can they do? You know, they can often offer provide rituals. I just did one today for a schoolmate of mine. I went to pray with her. She's in the hospital and she said, "Hey, I'm particular about who prays over me. You're one of the two that I want to come. Can you come by and pray?" She believes in the ritual of prayer. Some rituals are good. Okay? Some rituals are good for us to keep. So faith communities can do that. Organized churches, can do that. They can provide food. Listen. When your loved one die, you don't feel like cooking. Sometimes you don't even feel like eating, but they can provide. Now we're modern. What do they call them things? The food train. I think that's what they call it, a food train. They'll get people signed up to bring you food every day, right after that person dies. That's what you can get from a faith community. Of course, you can get prayer, you can get presence that can all help the bereaved feel less alone. Okay? So, however, they can also unintentionally harm by offering cliche phrases. Notice how I slowed down because I want us to get this. Cliche phrases. Hey, Miss Wanda. Hey, Marie. I see you guys commenting. So typically, when we hear cliche phrases, they're meant to give us comfort. They are. They're meant to give us comfort, but they can also minimize our pain. and basically silence our emotions or make people think they got to rush through the process. Okay, so let me give you some commonly used faith-based cliches so you don't use these anymore. All right. God needed another angel. Don't say that. Okay, that's not helping the people. What's another cliche? Well, everything happens for a reason. Don't say that. Okay, this can feel like what we call spiritual bypassing, attempting to impose meaning before a person has the chance to even grieve. Okay, making them, the griever, feel like they need to be guilty for not understanding or even accepting the reason right away after the death. So we don't want to say that. Here's another cliche, faith-based. God doesn't make mistakes. While we know he doesn't, the person in grief at the moment, they don't want to hear that. Okay, especially if it's a person who is strong in the faith, a leader. They know the Bible. They know God. They don't need that. They need your comfort. They need your compassion. Okay, so this can feel dismissive to those who are brokenhearted. Here's another one not to say. They're in a better place. I had one lady say, no, the better place is here with me. And she's a minister of the gospel. Someone told her that when her grandmother died. She said, no, the better place is here with me. So even if the person believes in an afterlife, believe in heaven, this phrase doesn't consider the current emotional space that the person is in. And that's what we want to do. It just kind of glosses over that and teaches the person not to feel and just know that they're in a better place. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to hear that. Some it brings comfort to because the person is suffering. Here's the next one. At least they're not suffering anymore. That does bring comfort to some people, but for the most part, it doesn't for some people. Okay, while it is true, especially if they had a lengthy illness, okay, but this statement can also minimize the grief of the one that's left behind. Okay, suggesting that because the loved one is no longer suffering, the griever shouldn't feel a deep sadness. So yes, we don't want them to suffer anymore. Okay, we can have that, but allow me to at least grieve. Because we know what grief is, right? It's on the inside. It's an internal emotional response. What's another commonly used cliche we shouldn't say? Time heals all wounds. Just pray and move on. You're going to be all right. So what does this encourage people to do? To emotionally suppress, okay? And overlook what's going on in the inside. So we don't want to tell people that. And the last cliche I want to share is that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Listen, I hear a lot of people say, I wish God didn't think I was so strong. I said, why do you say that? Well, they say, well, he gives his toughest battles to the... I said, ma'am, that's a cliche. That is a cliche. What it does imply is that to the grieving person that somehow they're expected to be strong and stoic because of their faith, because they're a leader, because they're a person of faith or whomever, they're expected to be strong and not show emotion. All right. So cliches can definitely create what we call spiritual dissonance or isolation or shame, basically causing people to feel as if their grief is unwelcome. They are less than because they are having these feelings, even though they are a person of faith. All right. Grieving individuals, what do they need? They need presence. They need permission to feel and gentle reminders that faith can indeed hold space for both their sorrow and their healing. Yeah, you can have both. You can have the sorrow and you can have faith and you can have hope. Yes. So Wanda says on Facebook, less words and just pray. Right. If you want to talk, I'm here to listen. You've learned that. Absolutely. That is good, Wanda. Thank you for sharing. So faith leaders and lay members, what we must do is be trained to support grieving individuals. We need some training so we can know what to say and what not to say, because a lot of times we can hurt people and harm people. I saw it firsthand where a lady who was a minister, her son was killed, and the pastor's wife came and told her, well, you knew the life that your son lived. That minister stayed out of church for years and just came back. That was over 20 something years ago. So we don't want to do that. Okay, so we got to be able to feel our emotions because they're a vital part of what it means to be a human being. Okay, made in the image of God and redeemed in Jesus Christ. But often our emotions confuse and mislead us. This is from a pastor, Brian Borgman, that said that. Okay, so I want you to know that your feelings do not cancel out your faith. Both are integral parts of who you are as a human being. You need your feelings and your faith. Okay, your faith is not a feeling. Your feelings are not faith. They're not the same. We've talked about being made in the image of God as spirit, soul, and body. The spirit part of you, that's where your faith hangs out. The soul part of you, that's where your feelings hang out. Okay? Two different dimensions of who you are. Our soul, again, of the emotions, and they're not meant to be buried or ignored. They're meant to be acknowledged and experienced. Our emotions are not meant to be ignored. That's what we've done a lot in the faith community. We want to ignore those emotions. No, they're meant to be acknowledged and experienced, and it's not a sign of weakness, but it's a necessary part of the healing process so that you can experience what we call wholeness. Okay? So when we allow ourselves to feel, guess what we do? We honor the truth of our soul and we create space for this transformation to take place. I'm a living witness. Because I allowed myself to be vulnerable, to be honest, and to express how the divorce hurt me several years ago, it allowed me to transform into this person of greater faith. Okay, but before I could get to that person, I had to feel the emotion of hurt, feel the emotion of anger, feel the emotion of betrayal. Okay, so it is okay for you to emote. Can somebody put that in the chat? It is okay to emote. Emote is E-M-O-T-E. What is that? That means there is a public display of your emotions through your words, through your facial expressions, through body language or tone. Today, my pastor and his wife, their son, ministered his first message. And I was watching them as parents and leaders of the church sitting and watched their child. And he did a phenomenal job. But I watched his mom, and she was like a balloon about to burst. I saw it. She didn't say it. She expressed and responded to her son ministering, her young son. But you could see it. She was just, if I took a pen and I would be able to pop her because the emotions, I could see it all over her. She was emoting. It's okay to emote through your tone. And believe it or not, through scripture, we see unmistakable evidence that God is an emoting God. What am I saying? He is deeply moved by the human experience. Okay, from Genesis to Revelation, do your research. God reveals a heart that feels sorrow, anger, joy, compassion, jealousy, grief, love. All of these have been felt through God and his son Jesus. Okay, so these are not signs of weaknesses, but expressions of divine empathy and connection. So to say that God emotes is to affirm that emotions are not only human, but they're also holy. Woo, that blessed me. And I'm trying not to run. Okay? So we're created, again, to experience our emotions. They're a reflection of God's heart within us. So I'm bringing the plane in for a landing to end our time together today. So my call to action. You know, we use that in the social media world. We got a call to action. We want you to do something. We're not here just teaching this information just to be teaching you. We want you to do something with it. Okay? So just as grief changes you, the griever, it can also change your spiritual worldview. It really, really can. It can lead a person of faith to wrestle with their beliefs, often prompting deep questions about what they have been taught or what they held on to. So, in the process of healing, I want you to discover some things that you have to unlearn certain things and let go of certain things before you can receive new things. So, what do we have to do? We have to see those things that we have to unlearn. What's something that we need to unlearn? That true strength is not an absence of expression of emotion. When we say be strong for the family, that means we don't want you to show, don't cry, don't let them see you cry. That's not true. That's something we need to unlearn. That's not what strength is. And even from a faith-based experience, it's not biblically sound, because the word of the Lord tells us that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. So what we really have to do is learn how to be weak before the Lord and let our boundaries, our walls down. Okay? So what do we want you to do? The first thing I want you to do is assess your faith and your relationship with God. Check it out. See what's going on. Because a lot of times on my intake form, I have an intake form for people who I work one-on-one with. And a lot of them put, I feel distant from God. Hey, Linda, good to see you. They say, I feel distant. That's normal to feel that in the grief process, in the very, very beginning, especially. So I want you to assess your faith, your relationship with God. Do you feel more distant or do you feel more intimate? Okay. And then I want you to nurture your faith and your spirituality with care. Nurture it, because this will help make meaning of your loss. Nurture it. Do those things that we talked about, surrounding yourself with people who can support you during this process. The next thing I want you to do, number 3, is to seek peace among unanswered questions. There are going to be some questions in your grief journey that will never be answered. Why your loved one died, why they died the way they did, what did they die of, were they in pain when they died, or are they in heaven? There's some questions you will never get the answer to. So you have to seek peace in that, because we're not all knowing. He is. And that's where we trust him for that. But because God knows our greater good. You want to incorporate practices. You want to incorporate practices such as prayer, worship, reading the word, reading scripture, meditation, reading faith-based books, things that's going to build you up spiritually. You want to do that. Number 5, what can you do? Do some grounding exercises to calm your nervous system, because this is the part of us, again, of our body that becomes imbalanced, our nervous system. So when we are functioning in fear, stress, or whatever, it puts our nervous system in a space of being in survival mode. Okay, so you want to do things to ground yourself. Number 6, what could you do? Listen to music that calms you. I had a playlist in the very beginning, a playlist of faith-based songs, my go-tos. And the very first top song was Let Go and Let God. That was the song that played on repeat in the beginning when I was healing from the divorce. Okay? So, and the last thing, the 7th thing you can do is get support. Get support from a faith community, get a counselor or a therapist. All right? So these are things that you can do to help you deal with your faith, your spirituality, and your grieving process. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope this has been helpful. If so, would you put in the comments? Let us know. Give me a takeaway. What is your takeaway for today as we go to Marie? I'm waiting for y'all. Put them in the comment sections as we go back to Marie for the closing. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank everybody for joining us. And yes, Dr. Cunningham, it was helpful.
Awesome.
When you were talking at the beginning, and you were asking the question, what have we done for ourselves? I
Uh-huh.
didn't put anything in the comments, but I was going to let you know that I had been experiencing some back pain, and I
Mm-hmm.
had gone to get a massage. When I got a massage and the lady she massaged, she's like, okay, I can feel this tension in your back. You need to let some tension go. Your body is just tight. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So we went through that process. And so I had another massage the next month. With the
Mm-hmm.
next month, she said, okay, it's easing up some, but you still have some stuff going on in your body. So she said, you may need to talk to your doctor. Just so
Mm-hmm.
happened I had a doctor's appointment. So I went to the doctor and told the doctor what was going on. And she's like, you need to go to physical therapy. So
Wow.
I have got an appointment and I started my physical therapy.
Period.
And so went to the physical therapy. And so I was kind of telling them what was going on and say, okay, let's see if it has something to do with the nerve and all. So they gave you certain exercises to do and said, well, if you can do that, that don't have nothing to do with your nerve. If you can do that, don't have nothing to do with your nerve. You need to slow down and what do you say? Take care of yourself. So I'm in physical
Mm.
therapy right now, trying to get some of this tension. Say your body is just tight. Just need to
Mm.
let things go. So I thought I wanted to share that with you.
Thank you for sharing that. That is so good. Y'all take heed to what she just shared. And Maria, as you were talking, I went to my holistic doctor on Friday, and she was sharing with me. She said our physical body matches the energy of our thoughts.
Yep.
I say, what did you say? Our
Mhm.
physical body matches the energy of our thoughts. So you're a business owner. You're
Yeah.
a wife. You got a lot going on. You care for people and you don't realize how it's impacting you and your body started responding and I'm glad you
Yeah.
responded. Good. Thank you.
Yes. 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 Yeah. So I'm glad I did that. So I'm trying to work through that, and hopefully I have another comment or something to take away from that to give you next month.
Good.
So at the beginning of the session, I was saying that was thinking everybody telling everybody happy birthday for the month of June. Next month, you guys, is Mr. Franklin's birthday, and he has planned a celebration that Mr. Franklin is going to be 66, and he's planning this celebration called his 6 and 6. And so, what he's doing is he's having a celebration that's going to be at the church, and he's going to just have a music. What is he said he wanted a total of 66 musicians and singers to just come and sing and just kind of fellowship and to worship with him. So that's going to be going on. So if anyone is interested, you're all invited to come. And if you go out to the website, a Life Celebration by Franklin website, there's some information as to how you can come and join. Mr. Franklin would love to have as many of you there as possible. And he is out today at a church service, which is why I'm closing today without his announcements. But thank you, Dr. Cunningham, for joining in with us, and we look forward to joining you again on next month. That's all I have. So I'll see you guys next month. Thank you.